So what is it this modern operating model solves in organizations? In the previous video, I quickly touched on what we're solving for. And these are the stressors in organizations. Now, not every organization has all of these stressors. They're not all equally important. You need to figure that out for yourself. But the recipe is common. And again, I'm going to portray it as this circle and describe what that strategy looks like. I use a circle because none of these has to go first. And you need to sort out what is the logical sequence and do I need all these different steps. But the common ones that we see in 90% of the organizations are as follows. One is we need to make sure the organization becomes aligned, right? We need to clearly communicate what the strategic objectives are and the priorities. So people spend less time working on anything that's misaligned with company objectives and allows everyone to see the impact of their work and see why their work matters. That allows us to build empowered organizations, right? We not only need to hire great people, but we need to push decision-making, execution, and accountability as far down the organization as we can. How do we do that? Well, we need to have clear ownership of objectives. So have to set those OKRs, and then we need to have clear ownership. Think of a RACI model. We need to decrease the time spent finger pointing and deciding who's to blame. That's kind of a cultural attribute. So we create an environment where people want to show up to work, they want to solve problems together, they want to communicate when things start drifting off course in a risk-free way. So that sets up that structure around being outcome focused, right? Back in the manufacturing, agricultural, the assembly line era, we learned to obsess over inputs, and the outputs took care of themselves. But today it doesn't work that way. Outcomes are the evidence that define success for your organization. In fact, we're less worried about how we achieve them, provided we live within our values and regulations. So, those activities, those day-to-day things that we do are being executed by departments, teams, and individuals in your organizations. And they do matter, but they will never on their own ensure your success. So we've got to move beyond opinions, egos, and activities and focus on those outcomes. As President Harry Truman said, it's amazing what you can accomplish when you don't care who gets the credit. And that's what we need to move towards. So that requires a degree of transparency, right? Ensuring that everyone across the organization has the ongoing line of sight to the status and the progress being made. Think of any professional team, like a soccer team. Every line needs to know what the other line does and how well they're doing their job. And then we empower people to make decisions when they've got the right insights instead of informing a select few at the top of the organization. That allows us to become more fast and more agile, right? So, data and insights are only valuable when you have access to them with enough time to change the outcomes. If data is delivered too late, you might as well not have it. Therefore, we need to dramatically reduce the time it takes to get the data and to preserve it, to pivot or preserve, right? So we need to establish an operating cadence that allows the organization to manage as fast as required and dynamically change the cadence as turbulence occurs. And that goes back to the cultural attribute of encouraging that test and iterate mindset that allows people to move faster without fear of failing. And then finally, we need to be future focused, right? Think beyond this month's or this quarter's outcome, or even this year. What do we need to do now to succeed 5 years from now, whatever that long-term horizon is? So think beyond our current, where we play, how we win, what capabilities we need, and what systems are required. Because 5 years from now, we're going to play in a different space. We're going to win in different ways. We're going to need different capabilities and different systems. And if we're not focused on that future, we're going to get stuck making buggy whips in the era of automobiles. So that's the solution. Now, there's methodologies to put these in place, but these are the touchstones that we need to in order to address those previously discussed pain points. So now let's talk about how we put these things in place.